It's a beautiful day. Feels like a beautiful day. So, how about we do some Patreon listener questions? Once again, if you want to be part of the Transformers Slag podcast Patreon, support the podcast and let us know that we're doing a good job. Patreon.com/Protoman. Check the description below or in the comments. Come join us and get a whole bunch of cool stuff. You can get your name put in the end credit scroll at the end of every segment moving forward from your first patronage. You get to join the Transformers Slag Discord, which has a lot of cool stuff. We post sales that happen every single week around the Transformer world, so you could save money collecting your Transformer product. We also post a whole bunch of rare Transformer lore. We try to do that once a week. All kinds of crazy cool stuff from the dark reaches of the internet. And depending on what tier you are, you might even get a little gift in the snail mail. Cool little stuff that we collect throughout the years that we hand out to our Patreons. And of course, today, the Patreon listener question. So we have two of them. First one we got from Joe Furkis, and the other one we got from our longtime patron, Downright Superb. And they're both pretty good ones, so let's jump into those. So first, Joe wants to know. He wants to know, I have a question regarding more obscure exclusives we've gotten so far. G2 Ramjet, Deep Cover, etc. Would you recommend newer fans to buy them if they don't have nostalgia like the older fans do? Me personally, I'm not familiar with those characters, and some of them don't have much an impact on the history of the brand, like the eHobby exclusives versus the Diaclone callbacks. Well, Joe, funny thing is a lot of those Haslab like obscure stuff, it really doesn't really resonate with a lot of people. I mean, let's put it this way, like G2 Ramjet, right? Unless you really grew up during G2, which I did, and got that Ramjet, which I didn't, it's really just more trying to update those old designs internally. A lot of Transformer collectors today didn't live a lot of those eras, or don't have a primary reason for picking them up outside of like a completionist kind of set. I mean, like, to give an example, like Deep Cover. I don't know many people that own the original eHobby one. His fiction is very limited, so it's not like oh, I remember like seeing it on TV all the time or all those episodes. It's really just, I want to have an updated version of that character, or I want to own that character because the original version, be it the eHobby G1 mold, is ridiculously expensive in the secondary market. And when you even move into stuff like, let's say, like the G2 Sandstorms and stuff like that, those are just characters that just never had any kind of product. So to get a version of them at all is more of a historical sense. So I think that when it comes to fans that don't have a connection to them, it really is more a sense, do you want to own possibly the most updated and best version of a character, regardless if you have a connection to it? Look, going back to what I was saying before, a lot of Transformer collectors I meet today, they didn't grow up on G1, but they buy G1 stuff because they revisit it, or not so much revisit it, but they visit it for the first time. And in the case of, like, let's say you, where you don't have a connection to, let's say, the G2 stuff, you know, it's something where you don't have a connection to it now, but at the same time, you could always check it out and then decide if you want that. Something like G2 Ramjet didn't have much of an impact, especially those colors. I mean, there was the 12-issue Marvel book where I believe he sported those colors for like 5 seconds on a couple of panels, and that's it. But there really isn't, much to go on with that, unfortunately. So me personally, it's really just, it's a combination of, do you need it in your life, number one? And that usually is answered by, do you have the space for it? Do you want to waste that space for it? Do you want to waste that money on it? Or is there really other toys and other characters and other figures that you rather pick up? G2 Ramjet, Deep Cover, those are those Hasbro Pulse kind of exclusives. You're talking between $29 to $39. Do you feel that $29 to $39 could be better spent elsewhere on characters that you are familiar with? Whether it be the Beast era, the Unicron trilogy. I mean, the beautiful thing with Transformers is there's tons of stuff. I mean, as a completist for many years and looking around me in my collection, there's a lot of stuff that you could buy of different price points and almost get equal enjoyment, if not better enjoyment, Just because it's new, just because Hasbro's peddling it now, doesn't mean you have to get it. Sometimes I always just tell people, like, get what makes you happy. Like there's some guys when I go to TFCon that only collect certain genres. They only collect Beast Wars toys, or they only collect, Unicron trilogy stuff, or only a specific character. And it's because those pockets of those kind of collections, whether it be that era of Beast Wars, that era of Unicron trilogy, or that specific character, makes them happy. And not to mention, it's also easier to regulate their collection. It's easier to from a financial standpoint. So me personally, if it doesn't interest you, don't pick it up. That's what I always say. I think that was a big mistake a lot of people have done in the past, where, including me, where they were just buying everything. And, then you look to your side, like I'm doing right now, and you look at, like, let's say, I don't know, the Cybertron collection, right, from 2005, 2006. And you go, like, did I really need that odd, repaint of Demolish, or did I need Cryotech Scourge or some of those? It's some of those where it's like, and those were bought, full price back in the day with tax. It's something where, like, maybe that money could have been spent better elsewhere. So that gets into a deeper topic of financial, managing when it comes to Transformer collecting, and how there's some people I know that they worked every day of their life and spent every dime that they ever made on Transformers. And it's like, after like 7-8 years, I know these people in real life, and after 7-8 years, they have like nothing to show for it. They have a whole bunch of toys, but no savings, because they were just buying everything regardless if it made them happy or not, just because it was almost like a muscle, reaction. I gotta buy it because it's new. So I would just put that money towards other stuff. And I guarantee, Joe, there's a lot of other stuff that you could enjoy in this hobby that is in a comparable price range. Trust me on that. There's so much. Just go on eBay. There's just so much. But thank you for the question. Really good one. There's almost more meat on the bone to discuss here, but it kind of dives into a whole other topic really in the end, which is collection management and size and stuff like that. But thank you for the question. Let's jump into the next one. We got one more, and it's from Downright Superb. Downright Superb, longtime patron of the podcast, and he wants to know, he's got a listener question. I've never got a Haslab Unicron. At the time, I was in Istanbul, living off of my savings. Do you think that after seeing the inflated prices on eBay, they'll consider doing a second run? People are buying it for 2 or 3 times the original price now. Do you see another run happening under any circumstance? I think people needed more time to save for it. So yeah, this was a topic I brought up quickly, actually, on my finance video, I think like 2 days ago or something, about Haslab Unicron and how just the prices are getting ridiculous right now. They're getting pretty crazy. But it also adds to another topic, which I remember when Haslab Unicron first dropped. I remember it crystal clear because it was like the day after TFCon in 2019. I just remember, like, the Toronto show ended. We're driving back from Toronto to Montreal, and the news like dropped that Monday. And the biggest complaint a lot of people had was they were coming off, like people that I knew personally from TFCon and stuff. They were, you're coming off of TFCon. They traveled to that show. Some of them flew, some of them paid for hotel rooms. They spent a lot at the dealer room. They got the exclusives. They paid for autographs from the voice actors. Big, expensive weekend. They just dropped tons of money. And now it's time for the wallet to decompress and get some money back. And then this drops. And I'll tell you this right now, depending on where you come from, TFCon weekend was a lot cheaper than a Haslab Unicron. So if that TFCon weekend was a big hit to their wallet, something like Unicron is a knockout in a lot of ways. And what was just ended up happening was so many people were not happy about that because they didn't have time to recover their funds from TFCon and then buy this because they were interested in it. Now, it leads to the second part of your question. Will they do a second run? I don't know. The one thing is, so many people have been telling me they'll never do a second run. They won't do a second run. Hasbro this is it. That's all they're going to do. I always say never with Hasbro. You know, so many times I'm so confident in the way they do things, and then they just throw us a curveball. And I think that this is me personally. I think that they have enough of a good relationship with guys like Big Bad Toy Store, and now that they have, again, the Hasbro Pulse website set up also, that I just feel that maybe a year from now, they're going to look at those tooling, they're going to look at that CAD, and they're going to go, you know what? Let's do another run. Let's do a limited run of 500. We'll put it up on the Hasbro Pulse website, and when it sells out, it sells out. In the same way that sometimes stuff just comes out of nowhere. Oh, hey, we got more of these Pit of Judgments from San Diego Comic-Con. Oh, hey, we got more of these Titan-class Devastators from Combiner Wars. Like, they just kind of do these extra runs. And I'll be honest with you, from a trademark standpoint, that Unicron has... Look, this thing's been in development for almost 3 years now, and that trademark is going to be coming up soon. They wait a year and a half, and then they put this thing out again. They get to refresh the trademark again. I say never. I don't want to say that they're going to do a second run, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did. It really wouldn't. And I don't think it'll be affected primarily from the secondary market. I don't think they're looking at the secondary market and going, oh, wow, like people are paying crazy money for this. We should do a second run. I think it's just more the investment that they made already. They made a lot of money. From this for sure. Not to mention they got to sit on a lot of that money without, think about it. They got all that money up front and they sat on it primarily for 2 to 3 years, where they obviously invested it and put it into other stuff too. So to them, it wasn't a loss, but the investment of design, advertising, and all of that, they might as well, there's no reason for them not to do it. Like there wouldn't be loss, I think. If they did a short run of, let's say 100 to 500, I'm pretty sure it would get bought. I'm pretty sure. The way the market has been moving, the way that we see what people are paying in the secondary market tells us that the money is still there. It's just at the time, people just didn't have the money, and sure, it got extended, the whole thing. Like it was supposed to be just like a 30-day thing, and it got extended all the way, I believe, to New York Comic-Con, which I believe was 90 days instead. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. That I'm kind of fuzzy. But it's just, it got to one of those things that people just didn't have the money, and the people who ended up not getting it ended up having a lot of regret. And then now it's showing up, and then people just flipping it and seeing how much more it's going for, where it's like 3 times the original value, sometimes as high as even $2,000. And keep in mind too, that $2,000 or that $1,500, I feel it's going to retrace. I think it's going to find itself, back down again. You could only have so many people spending that kind of money before it kind of like trickles back. But not to mention, like, I think as of this recording right now, there's 4 people buy it now. I'm pretty sure they're going to have a battle amongst each other trying to just sell theirs, because at the end of the day, it takes a lot of space too. So it's not like a really expensive, valuable, like Minerva from Masterforce that like takes as much space as the size of your hand. This is a washing machine sized box that is taking space in their house that they need to move. They might have a girlfriend and or wife that's just like, when are you getting rid of this thing? So I also feel that the price might retrace from an emotional and just a worry reason, because as time progresses, that thing is just not paying rent, but taking a lot of space in their house, where there's a lot of valuable product that, like, I could even like think of BotCon exclusives that go to like between $300 to $500, the box sets. And, those box sets, they could fit, they could fit under a bed, they could fit under a couch, even though those take a little more space, they still don't take as much space. Even like, again, a Titan class, Metroplex you could put under the bed. This thing is massive, because it's going to be sold with the box, and it's massive. There's no way that you could find a way that this thing's being shipped out, or being stored in a way that doesn't garner getting the full value. They're going to have to ship it out the way it was originally intended with that fancy box. And it's massive. So that's going to be a huge factor in a lot of ways for the secondary market guys that are sitting on it for a long period of time. I'm reminded of, and I'm not a He-Man collector, but I'm reminded of, I had a friend locally here. He had the Eternia play set, the brand new one that they did for the He-Man Classic series. I believe it's from Maddie Collectibles. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And I remember he bought 2 of them, one to keep and one to resell. And he would bring that to every single convention, and it would just take so much space, mint in box. And he just wanted to get rid of it because it got to a point that, you know, he kept all his inventory for the cons in a storage locker where it was taking a huge amount of space. And I remember he went from I think $700 to $500 to, I think ultimately in the end it came to I think $400, and then I think he sold it for $400. I know he didn't have it anymore, but you know, that kind of stuff, it takes a lot of space. And when you got big product like that that's valuable, but it also takes a lot of space, it's a lot harder to sit on it for a long period of time because there's that part of your brain that just wants it to go because it's too much. It's not like let me think of an expensive Magic card, you know, or something that's it's a thin piece of cardboard that's in between a book, you know, that just takes no space at all. You could sit on that forever because of its value, but you know, when you have something that's huge, that practically is a piece of furniture, yeah, you want it to move. And something like Unicron, I feel that price is going to retrace too. So a combination of, I'd wait it out. Let's see what Hasbro does maybe a year from now. And even a year from now, probably prices are going to retrace themselves after people get that, you know, fear of missing out of their system and they move their money to other things. Especially if Hasbro then makes a brand new product. You know, I mean, if they do a brand new Haslab, whatever, they do some new big Titan, the focus and everyone's money is going to go elsewhere, and then you could put that money towards the Unicron instead. So that's one way to take it. You know, that's how I see it. But I hope that answers your question just a little bit. And so once again, thank you, Joe, and Downright Superb for the Patreon listener questions. If you want to be just like these 2 rad dudes and join the Patreon for the Transformers Slag podcast, patreon.com/Protoman. Again, check the description below, check the comments to get the link, and join us.